I have to give somebody quite a bit of recognition for his assistance with the information, and somebody that we've had the chance to speak with, and somebody whose organization I'm also working on helping to recruit into the Black is Back Coalition. But he was supposed to be here today, thought he could. That's Brother Kwame Fosu. And Min, who he's a parent, he had child care issues himself this weekend, and he was not able to come. He's out of DC. But he is with the Rebecca Project for Justice, and he has done tremendous work and research in terms of bringing to the fore some of the issues that are going on involving women and deadly birth control that's being pushed into our community. But before going any further, I just want to give a moment to acknowledge our revolutionary freedom fighters and heroes who were involved with healing and medicine. And so often within our liberation struggle and our movements, when we think about our heroes, and rightfully so, we think about Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, all these great, wonderful, wonderful people, and we think about the various fields that they contributed in. But the one field where there's a void is the tremendous contributions in medicine. And I think not really making that connection and acknowledging our wonderful African traditions of healing is really critical, and it's vital to the situation that we are facing today. Our history has been so demonized. They were called witch doctors. They were laughed at. And it had the tremendous effect on us of making us not really being aware of this phenomenal history. And so today we find ourselves in a situation where look what we are relying upon. We are relying upon institutions, first of all, that is based on a fallacy, and that uses the most poisonous, deadliest, most invasive procedures around, and they are using it on us. And where I'm talking about the medical profession, a profession that has been as racist and as brutal in its treatment of our people. They also owned people. They experimented on them, and every justification for the enslavement of African people could be found in what they call medicine. And I just want to take a few minutes to, even if we don't know their names, to just in our hearts and our spirits to acknowledge the freedom fighters who work in medicine and healing. I want to bring one person's name to the fore, and I have a couple of books here. I love using books and bringing them because I think they make such great props. It's like, wow, she reads, and I can recite them and look all bent and everything. Yeah, they're great visuals, I think. But actually, there was one book that caught my eye, and it caught my eye for various reasons. Some of you know me. I happen to work with magnetic energy. I learned about this energy healing, which completely revolutionized my whole paradigm about healing and health. But this is a book called Medical Revolutionaries. And they talk specifically, this book focuses on what has become known as the area of Haiti in the Dominican Republic. But this focuses on the enslaved healers of 18th century Saint Domingue. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope that I am. And one of the things that they talked about that they also were using was magnetism. Now, you may have heard of the word mesmerize, which comes from Franz Mesmer, who was a German physician. And he used magnetic energy, and he was going around and helping people to heal themselves and all this. And all this was going on, and of course, the medical establishment could not have that, so they really went out and demonized him, and he lived in exile and all of that. But some of our ancestors were using those properties as well. And one of the things that's very difficult to enslave somebody, to take their mind unless you have power over every aspect of their life. And there's one person in particular whose name I want to bring forward, and that is the name of McIndoe. And he was somebody, in fact, this book credits him, and I've also seen other references to this, but they credit him with being the inspiration behind the Haitian Revolution. And he led what is known as McIndoe's Rebellion. He died in the 1758, I believe. I'm not exactly sure of his year of birth, but he was somebody who was from Africa. He knew of the rich traditions of medicine and of healing. In fact, he was used very, very much with this way the structure was, in Saint Domingue, in terms of they relied on a lot of the people who lived there who knew about healing. They relied on them. And so this person was considered to be a brilliant person, and they tried to enslave him, and at some point he breaks away and he lives in the community of the Maroons. And he is also credited with being one of the first people to say it is not just enough to escape enslavement, we must overthrow this system and we can win. And so he was a great organizer, and he began to organize, these people who, you had a lot of people that had run away from the establishment of enslavement, and they were living in the hills, and, they were known as the Maroons. He was doing a lot of organizing, and he was trying to organize this rebellion. And so he went to the blacks, the free black people who had money, and he tried to get them to help to fund this rebellion. He said, we need arms, we need this, and that. We got to fund this. And they refused to help him to do that. And he was a great herbalist. He knew about the plants and the animals. He had a real great relationship, synergistic relationship with life and the elements of this earth. And so they refused to fund him. And he said, that's all right, I know another way. And that's when he began to use the knowledge that he knew about the plants, about the medicines, about the herbs, to do what he needed to do. And he began to galvanize people who had been enslaved, and they described him as wreaking havoc upon that system of enslavement. Suddenly people, the so-called slave masters, the word I hate, but they started to get sick. Some of their livestock and stuff like that began to die, and he just created a reign of what they called terror. And as a result, they did everything they could to put him down, to stop him, and to try to really break what was going on. And in fact, I have also learned that Roger Toussaint also studied under him. And he too knew about the tradition with the herbs and the medicines. But my reason for bringing his name up, and because, in addition to the fact that we should know his name, but I had begun to think about, well, why did they demonize our way so much? Why did they do that? Especially when you discover that it works. Yes. And one of the things that I began to understand through reading this is because, as I was saying earlier, you cannot keep a people enslaved when they have knowledge and power. You cannot do that. You have to break them down in everything. And the role that the medical profession plays, it's not just about money, although it is about that, but it is also about control and breaking people down. And you can't have people who know how to heal themselves and who know all these things and think that you can continue to keep them enslaved. Another book that I have also been reading about the African American slave medicine. And again, these brothers and sisters, our ancestors, they played a tremendous role on these plantations, those who understood about this medicine, because it would mean when they would go to them, it would save people from having the fate of being experimented on by a group of people who had no respect for their life whatsoever. So it is imperative that we begin to really recognize and understand, know that this was not just, this cannot be a footnote, this cannot just be a side, it cannot be, oh yeah, well we had people who knew about these African herbs and everything. We have to really see what is going on, because the absence of that understanding and the absence of that knowledge leads us, prepares us to go into these brutal institutions that they call hospitals. You earlier heard Brother Larry Ham talk about when he was in the hospital, and that I went by to visit him. And this is part of the vision of the healthcare working group. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to make it mandatory. We have to do that this year alone. And I come here, and whenever I have these talks, because they are so painful and they're so personal. I mean, you see me wear my glasses and everything. Normally I like to look a little bit more put together than I do right now, but it's been a really rough year. And right in Philadelphia, and some of you I talked with as I was going through this, at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, I witnessed the brutal takedown of a family member, somebody who 2 years ago when he was in this hospital, and they said he was going to die then. They said his heart was the largest they'd ever seen, and that there was no hope. And I was using this magnetic energy and went in and worked with him maybe 10 minutes, and his heart went back into its proper rhythm, and it was astounding. But again, the lessons that you hope people will get from that, they did not. And so fast forward to this year, under their care, what they did to him was the most brutal thing I've ever witnessed in my life. We've also seen the death of so many phenomenal people, starting with the Mary Baraka. Now, when he got sick, my mother got sick at the same time, so I was trying to work with my mother, and I wanted to make sure I didn't leave her alone at all in them hospitals, and I didn't. She was 86 years old. She's come out of the hospital. Our comrade in arms, Brother Mary Baraka, did not. And then not long after that, then Brother Larry Ham, he's hospitalized. I was able to go visit him, but at the meantime, I'd also been visiting Ilambe Bragg. And that brother we know we also lost. And then just hearing about this one and that one. So we are really at a critical moment. We cannot talk liberation. We can't talk that and then go into these systems that have been the antithesis of everything that we represent, everything that we believe in. The National Health Association in 2001 ruled that racism is the reason that black people have the worst of every statistic when it comes to medicine. I don't care what you say it is, we got the worst of it. We are given, even the medicines are poison, first of all. So this is not even a situation of saying, well, we want to have more, we want parity with what white people receive. We want equality, because we don't. That's just garbage. We don't want that. But of that, we get the worst of it. We get the worst treatment. And this is something that we really have to take much more seriously. And it breaks my heart. It really does break my heart, and I say this with all due respect to the family members of these people, because I've been there myself with losing people. My father, I had to witness go down, and I know what it is to not know, to think that there's no other way. I know what that is. I know what that is. But when we talk about a revolution, we're not going to have a revolution. We lost another brother, Brother Chokwe Lumumba, whom this coalition endorsed. I don't even understand how he died, but I know where he was when he did succumb. I know where he was when he did. And we talk about revolution, and we do all these things, and then we go into them places. We deliver ourselves to them, and they work hand in glove with the system of oppression that has been keeping us down. Thank you. 5 minutes. Okay. This is going to be a bad segue, but I have a couple of flyers that you all have seen, hopefully. But one of the issues that is currently going on right now, and that we have taken on, is what is currently going on in terms of the issue of Depo Provera birth control. which is being promoted by the World Health Organization, the Center for Disease Control, Planned Parenthood. This is being promoted as a safe and effective form of birth control that black women and black people should be using. And I have to say thank you to some of the brothers in the movement, because they came up to me and were like, Lisa, do you know about this issue with Depo, Provera? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? So I have to thank them so much for the role that they played in bringing this to my attention. And then when I began to do some of the research about what was going on with this, it is astounding, although I hate to say that word because nothing should shock me. And this is where our brother Kwame Fosu has done tremendous research. He wrote a report, I believe he's the author of that report, called Depo, Provera, Deadly Reproductive Violence Against Women of Color. And basically black women the world over, globally, are being targeted deliberately to take this birth control. And yeah, I'll just read to you some of the side effects of Depo, Provera. First of all, it causes significant bone loss and mineral density loss, early osteoporosis, blood clots in arms, legs, lungs, and eyes, stroke, weight gain, delayed return to fertility and infertility, increased absence of, a word got omitted from that, I'll have to rectify that. But also you can develop breast cancer from this. This is what's being promoted in our community, but that's not even the worst of the side effects. Its most dangerous side effect is that it significantly increases the spread of the HIV virus. It doesn't just significantly increase it, it also significantly increases the transmission of it. So not just in terms of a woman being able to receive the AIDS virus from a man, but also in terms of him being able to get it. And they have been promoting and targeting our communities with this form of birth control. Bill and Melinda Gates. Yeah. I'm like, why don't they promote something that they supposedly know something about, which would be computers, if they wanted to really do something? But they have been really behind promoting this into the African communities globally, and this is being billed as safe and effective. And when we talk about suddenly, at one time when I first heard about the AIDS virus, I remembered I was reading an article. This was in Time magazine, I think in the early 80s. And I was reading about how these women who were called prostitutes in a country of Africa, how they were not using any kind of birth control methods or any kind of protection, and they were not getting the AIDS virus. They were not getting, and they were trying to figure out why aren't these women getting it? Now, I did not follow up with that study, but suddenly, all of a sudden, I know today, boom, AIDS is on the continent of Africa, and they talk about this epidemic and things of that nature. And it just seems like this pandemic, and I just think it's outrageous that African people, especially on the continent of Africa, on the continent, would be looking to Europeans, looking to our oppressor for answers in terms of how to, stop some of what's going on. But the spread of the AIDS virus seems to correlate perfectly with the introduction of Depo, Provera to the continent. In fact, Southern Africa is considered to be the country, South Africa, with one of the world's highest rates of AIDS, and yet it also has the highest rate of the Depo, Provera usage. I'm encouraging everyone, we have to get the word out into the communities in terms of what's going on. We have to get the word out to young women of reproductive age, and also the men. I've created a flyer. I might have to make a couple of corrections with it, but this helps to just give a synopsis on what is going on with this. It is very important for us to really get this information out there. And one of the things that the Healthcare Working Group intends to do is to, we have now a section on the website which we will be updating and providing information. We seek to build a repository of information that our members can go to, that our members can use. And also, I'm going to ask those who do work with various healing modalities to remember to make this a part of our activism as well. It is critical that we do that. We need people to be on the healthcare working group. You just have to have an interest. If you have an interest in wanting to do better and understanding that we need to learn more about the various modalities that are out there, please join the healthcare working group. And also those who do have understanding and knowledge of these modalities, please incorporate that into your activism as well, especially for the liberation struggle. No one, especially no one who has made it their life's mission to try to reach out to our community and to stand up for us, no one should have to be in them places, certainly not by themselves. And just one other thing, we have to know this: the body absolutely can heal. What they call medicine is based on a fallacy. It's based on a lie. The body absolutely can heal. There's information out there in which there's been so much research. There's been so many positive results, but they try to suppress this information. And I'm going to mention one concept to you. Please, please continue to research this. This is the concept of energy medicine. It is dynamic. Learning about magnetic energy, and that's just one form of energy medicine, literally changed my paradigm. And I have seen people myself whom I thought would be gone by the end of the day. I have seen them turn around. This is what has given me the strength to be able to visit somebody like Brother Larry Ham. And certainly this is not about trying to take credit for anything, but knowing certain things that could be done to help to give him the competitive edge. And you heard him describe all of his injuries. That should be the norm. That can be the norm. Anyway, people, you've heard a lot from me today. I just wanted to... I don't have a resolution just yet. But one of the things that we were talking about, and we are going to definitely flesh this out more in the healthcare working group, because I was thinking about the horrible situation that was going on with my young cousin. And I will tell you, even in that condition, because he had become brain dead, under their care, they gave him, they had operated on his heart. They did 2 back-to-back operations on his heart. Then they left him open all night long because they just wanted to make sure that the bleeding would stop. In the meantime, they are giving him heparin. The side effects of heparin is that it's known to cause brain bleeds and bleeding in the body, but they're still giving him that. Certainly he has this massive brain bleed. He becomes brain dead. They said that he would never wake up again, and all of this, using this energy, helped to get him to wake up again. But in the meantime, they continue to just pump him with these deadly combinations of medicine. And there's no like, oh, let's watch this and let's monitor this or anything like that. So I had briefly spoke with the chairperson about this, and I will just introduce this concept because I plan to take it back to the healthcare working group, that we need to, as a way of informing our people, as a way of part of the fight back, we need to begin to work on, in some form, some kind of legislation to make it mandatory that they give reports every single day to the family, that doctors, not just putting it on some box, some pharmaceutical box and saying, this could have, take this or whatever. These doctors have no discussion with people at all about side effects. Every doctor who did not believe in nutrition and the natural way, every doctor that I've ever brought up anything about side effects to, they've always said, all medicines cause side effects. Or if you don't have one of their books in front of them, they will really talk down to you. They will really talk down to you. And like one doctor said, well, if you're going to believe internet rumors, I'm a professional. And I just asked him a question about whether or not, something could cause potential harm. But I would like to see, just as a way of, trying to bring more awareness to what is going on, as a way to inform people that you have to understand that much of the death is being caused by these deadly medications, and that certainly if you have a family member who goes into the hospital and suddenly they start getting all these other ailments that they didn't have before, to look at the medications. And also this is giving another message to the medical field to let these doctors know we are watching you. So they should have to make sure that they go over the side effects of all the medication that they give, that they sign something, and that they make sure that they tell the person, if you begin to get these side effects, inform them, and that there are other alternatives that they can use. That's just something that we briefly talked about, but we'll be bringing it back to you.